Welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, where today we will be interviewing Most Worshipful Brother Antonio Graham.
Ladies and gentlemen, brethren all, welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important to note that our thoughts and opinions are our own and do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies. Please connect with us and ask questions via our website at theworkingtoolspodcast.com.
Today on the Working Tools Podcast, we have our usual group of hosts, Very Worshipful Brother David Colbeth from King Solomon Lodge number 60 in Auburn, Washington, Very Worshipful Brother Stephen Chung from Prince Charles number 153 in Kelowna, BC, Brother Craig Graham from Kalamalka number 160 in Vernon, British Columbia, and I'm Matt Appel from Mill Creek Lodge number 243 in Montlake Terrace, Washington. And we are honored to have with us today Most Worshipful Brother Stephen Graham, who is the Grand Master of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Washington and jurisdiction. Most Worshipful Sir, thank you for coming this evening.
Thank you for having me.
But we're going to redo this again because
Antonio.
It's not Stephen Graham, it's Antonio Graham.
Damn it!
No, that's okay. We're gonna roll with it this time. Roll with it.
Most Worshipful Brother Antonio Graham. I am so sorry.
We had a rough start, folks. That's all right.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I feel like I should stop talking now. Does anyone have any questions for the Most Worshipful Grandmaster? So usually we ask our guests on our first show when they first appear what brought them to Masonry. So what brought you into Masonry? How did you get interested? What lodge did you join? Tell us your Masonic story.
So I like a lot of brothers that come before me, I come from a long history of Master Masons. My grandfather was a Master Mason, as well as my father. My grandmother was in the Eastern Star, as well as my mother. So when you talk about a family of community service and coming from that, I kind of grew up with it, and so all my life, that's what I knew, and so it would have been a little bit strange not to have been a part of our Masonic order, because growing up, I had several hundred brothers or 700 uncles that was always there, and it was a mentorship, as far as going with brothers around me. So I always watched my father interact with brethren, and not quite understanding as a child what that was or who they were, but they were always around, and I seen them in these little funny hats, a lot of different hats which I didn't understand, but they were always doing some type of community service. And after the community service, they got together and broke bread and enjoyed themselves, just fellowshipping. And so I always thought that it was intriguing. Probably as a lot of young male children, I asked my father, what it was all about, and he never would tell me. And he told me, well, when it's that time and when you're ready, then you'll know you're ready, and then you have to go and find out for yourself. And so, but prior to that, I always looked up to my father. He was my idol. So I joined the Knights of Pythagoras here in Washington. I think I was about 13 or 14. And my first interaction with Grand Session was, they took all of these boys over to Spokane, Washington, and that's where we had Grand Session at. And so, for us kids, we thought it was just fun. And so we ran around, and a lot of guys fed us, and we played video games, and we just had a good time and took some pictures with these guys with these big giant afros that have no hair today. So so that was kind of like, the initial start of it with the Knights of Pythagoras.
You mentioned that your father's dedication to a small black book first drew your attention towards Freemasonry. What did that moment symbolize to you as a young man?
Well, that moment, with him reading this book and not understanding what it was, but it was definitely intriguing. And so he kind of, for me, was the definition of professionalism. And so his attempt, or what he did, he wanted to be as proficient, or the most proficient person that he could be. And so it symbolized to me, strength and being able to go and reach out. And when you reach out to your brethren, now I know when you reach out to your brethren, you want it not just to be able to talk about it, but you want it to walk and talk, and be able to reach out to those brethren, and let them know that you knew what you were talking about. And so it was, I knew that it was a part of being dedicated, because every time I seen him, back then we didn't have showers, so we had a tub, and so we just had one bathroom, and so going by him while he's sitting in the tub reading this book, to go hit the can and then get out of there, this book was always there. Yeah. So he was always studying, even to this day. He is very, very proficient. I don't know anyone that can walk and talk, like he can.
So that dedication to and commitment to his work that he was doing in that book, now, though you didn't understand it, you appreciated and recognized the dedication, which once you kind of understood what he was doing, it made a whole lot more sense, eh?
Absolutely. But him never telling me what that book was all about, and as a kid, he every now and then he left it outside his briefcase. He's gone. I go and sneak and open it up and try to and attempt to read it. But words are missing, and you look at it and you're like, what is this crap right here? This makes no sense to me. This book is incomplete. And so, it was, and which drove me to be, more interested and intrigued, when I got the opportunity to find out for myself.
I don't want to jump too far ahead, but it must have been exciting for you to have him install you as Grand Master.
Absolutely. It was, it was probably other than being raised, it was probably the highlight of my entire Masonic career, because I owe everything to him. So it was absolutely amazing.
You mentioned the Knights of Pythagoras earlier. I've actually seen a couple. I've been to the Unity March, and I've seen a couple of Knights of Pythagoras were there, but I'm beyond that completely unfamiliar with that order. Could you discuss, or man, I cannot talk today.
Could you tell us about that organization?
Exactly. There you go.
So the Knights of Pythagoras is very similar to the Demolay and the Daughters. So it is it's a junior Masonic group, but with the Knights of Pythagoras, it only consists of little boys, and we have for our girls the Mary Mitchell Youth Palace, to where it's both boys and girls. But the Knights of Pythagoras consist of just the male children, and so it's quite interesting. You go through an initiation, very similar, to what we have all gone through. And, as a kid, it's kind of scary when they put a blindfold on and you're like, what is going on here? And so it is really similar to a setup, in our actual lodge. We have the Holy Bible, and we have a master night, a senior and junior night, and so everything is mirrored just like we do as Master Masons. And honestly, it is designed, it is set up to mentor those boys into becoming Master Masons. And so they go out and they do community service. We have several brethren that come in and they teach them different things. Like a couple of years ago, we started a robotic program to where they came in and we bought robots for them, and we taught them how to put these little robots together. And then we actually went up to Seattle. We actually went up to Seattle and entered them into a robotics competition. They were nowhere near close to the magnitude of what's going on in Seattle, with the technology and these, and these young kids and stuff with years and years of experience. But what it did was really just getting the children to interact with, with the outer world, and to see that there are more than just video games and playing around, to interact. Because I think that's probably one of the things that our children are lacking today is interaction, human interaction, to where you're physically out there, shaking hands and getting to meet each other. Everything is so much social media ran and based now. So with that, we try to, go and grab a child and make sure that oftentimes those are the kids, they come from, single family homes and stuff like that, and try to reach out and steer them in the right direction and make sure that they let them know that they have a big brother, that's a mentorship with them. So, skimming over, that's really what it is. But they have a national Knights of Pythagoras, where our kids went down to I believe North Carolina this summer, and they met with on a national level with all the kids. So it was actually, it's actually a good, really good program, for our kids.
I can't agree with you more. I think that you should take the opportunity and give them a plug if you've got a website domain or anything out there for them, because anything that can give our youth a better shot these days is a great thing. And do they have I'm guessing they have a website and whatnot?
Yes. So we have, the way that the Prince Hall is set up, our Grand Junior Warden is the one that's in charge of our Knights of Pythagoras program, but we also have a youth director. And so they coincide, and they, basically take care of the children and stuff like that, the programs, and when they meet at the lodge and stuff like that. So I don't have their website, but I'll be more than happy to give it to you.
I've got it here. I'll insert it into the show notes.
Okay.
Do you know? Sorry, go ahead, Matt. I was just going to ask you, do you know, without looking at the website here, I could look it up too, but the age range for the guys that are part of it?
So what we tend to do, we like for the children to be able to read a little bit, because, we do have rituals for them. But we've got kids in there as young as 6 or 7, up to 18. But and we're trying to change a few things, because it's kind of like a gap, because from like 6 to 18, but then once you get to 18, you can't become a Master Mason in Prince Hall until you're 21. And so which I'm going to I'm going to change some of those requirements, because, if you have, a young man and he's ready to become a Master Mason at 18, I see no reason why we should block him or have him have to wait, 3 more years, in order to, become a part of Master Masons. But that's generally the age, but we just really want them to be able to read. So, and some of the ritualistic work, they'll be able to read it and be able to kind of comprehend what they're doing. But, at that age, 6, 7 years old, they just want to have fun, and they just want to be around the bigger kids. And that exactly what draws them in, is like, oh, I have this, I got, a 14-year-old that's here, and, they want to be around, and they're interested in that. And I believe all you have to do is just be able to interest the child, and to be like, hey, I want to come back. I want to come back next month and see what you guys are doing. And so, and that's kind of like the plug, and during the meetings, we have, pizza and donuts and candy to hype them up. So when we're finished with them, we'll send them back home on 10. And so, but that's what really they're all about. But it is absolutely a great program.
That's awesome.
When you sort of graduated from Knights of Pythagoras, did you pursue Freemasonry fairly quickly, or did other life get in the way before that? I mean, what was sort of your gap there?
So my father was active duty Army, and he was stationed here on JBLM, which was AKA Fort Lewis. And so we got stationed at Fort McPherson, which is in Atlanta, Georgia, which is now no longer a military base. Tyler Perry, the producer, mega star, he actually owns and bought Fort McPherson that he turned into his studio and stuff now. But that's where we end up PCSing to. And so I went there when I was, I believe, going to the 11th grade. I left here. And so there was not, to my knowledge at that time, there were no other Knights of Pythagoras. So there was a gap to where when I left here, that was the end of, me being a Knights of Pythagoras, until I joined the military. And so, like a lot of our Prince Hall brothers, that is how we come in, and especially in Washington jurisdiction, that is how we kind of enter into our order and stuff like that. So, but it was I joined the military from Atlanta, Georgia, in 1988, and my first duty station was Germany, and when I got over there, wow, Germany is full of brothers, and for some reason I don't know why I didn't join when I went to Germany for those 2 years. But I didn't, and there were brothers all around. But definitely, I was always interested. But if you've ever gone to Europe as a 19-year-old, Masonry was probably the last thing on my mind during those times. So it was all about a lot of fun. So I left Germany in '90, and I PCSed here to JBLM, to Fort Lewis, thinking that I was going to be here for a good length of time. But as Uncle Sam has it, he moves you when he wants to. And I was here for about 13 months. And then I came down on assignment to go to Korea. Excuse me. And once I got to Korea in 91, it was probably a little bit more of a close-knit community to where on the installation it was a lot smaller, but on the installation they had Oklahoma jurisdiction, Washington jurisdiction, and so it was really a competition of where you were going to go, and so there were lots and lots of brothers, and they were doing a lot of community service and stuff like that. So at that time, I didn't know one jurisdiction from another. It just happened to be the brethren that I was stationed along with. Excuse me for a second. It was some of the brothers that were stationed along with me. And it was like, hey, this is who we are. This is what we're doing. But I was fully aware of who they were, and so I petitioned, not knowing that Washington was right there. But I didn't petition at that time for Washington. I petitioned for Oklahoma jurisdiction. And in May of 1991, I became a Master Mason for Oklahoma jurisdiction. And Korea, you do a year, a year, and it's so fast, and then you're gone. And and then I PCS'd and came back, had my rotation back here in Washington again. But it was interesting because I met my then wife, and we had a child, and life got in the way. And it was, during that time, money was the main thing in trying to take care of your family. And at that time, Uncle Sam wasn't paying a whole lot. So I had a second job. And so my primary focus was to provide for my family. So Masonry kind of got put on the back burner, for a few years, actually. And so my actual, really, when I got all the way back involved, probably it was about a good 10 years later, to where, I started, interacting, and it was like, hey, you know what? My father never stopped, and he was always active and doing stuff. And so, it was kind of one of those guilt things. It was like, what am I doing? I did this and wanted to surprise him, because he didn't know that until after I became a Master Mason. He didn't know that I'd gone through. And so I ended up going back to Germany, and then that's when I started fellowshipping again with the brethren. And so it was then when it was almost like a no look back type of situation. But I never demitted. I never demitted from Oklahoma jurisdiction. So I was fellowshipping with lodges and stuff like that. But once I did get back to Washington, there was a problem. And I was like, I'm a Oklahoma Mason in the Washington jurisdiction, and they're like, well, we're gonna accept you. We love you. We're gonna have you here, but you need to handle some business before you can become a true-fledged one of us. And so Oklahoma, I don't know if any of the brethren here know anything about Oklahoma, but once they get their claws in you, they don't like to let go. And so I went through a whirlwind to trying to demit from them until I had to almost get the Grand Lodge involved. But they end up letting me go. And so in 2007 is when I actually became a Prince Hall Washington Mason. I joined Lee Grant Rogers Lodge number 61, which is my father's lodge. So that's kind of how I actually got here, to Washington and stuff. So not really knowing my path, or the only thing that I wanted to do was be a good brother and to socialize. And then my father was in that lodge, as well. So it was a great thing for me. So, when I joined the lodge, I came in as the junior deacon. And so I was like, this is great. I only have to learn a few lines, alarm the door, and that's it. I don't have to do too much. So, this is a great thing. Well, they had more plans for me than that. So I was a junior deacon for 2 years, and I went from junior deacon to junior warden. And so, at that time they were grooming me to become the worship master. And so I was supposed to go around the chairs. And so my father was he was the worship master of that lodge in 1982. And so at the time the lodge had kind of hit a rough point, and so he came back in and he was the senior warden. So, but I didn't realize that he was sitting there because he was kind of getting me ready and helping me to move to the east. So but I ended up staying in the junior warden seat for about 2 years, 2 or 3 years. And I went from I was thinking that my father I was like, hey, maybe he's gonna, move from the senior warden and go back to the east. But that was not the plan. That was definitely not the plan. So I went from junior warden to worship master. And
wow.
It was like, okay, I'm here. So it's kind of where, that's kind of where, where we were. And Lee Grant Rogers, our lodge was really tight-knit group of brethren. And I sat for 3 years as the worship master. So during that time, you get to fellowship, across the jurisdiction with everyone. And that's when I really got enlightened about, the Washington Masons. And I learned about William H. Upton, which was even intrigued me even more about, the unity amongst us.
And that is a really interesting story, which I very much want to discuss deeper in depth. But unfortunately, we're about up to the end of our episode here. David's looking at me like I'm a jerk for interrupting you.
No,
sorry.
No. It's awesome. We can sit and listen. It's
exactly.
It's hard for me to change it in the studio.
Well, so apparently words are not my friend this evening. So thank you very much, most worshipful sir. We'll wrap up the episode here, and then we'll hopefully persuade you to stay for another. If you have another half hour or so.
Yes, I do.
Oh, thank you. First of all, on behalf of Craig and Stephen and David and myself, thank you, sir, for being on the show. We appreciate it. And if there's anyone out there who has any questions or comments or anything, we're on all those media things. Please feel free. And we look forward to talking to you again soon on the Working Tools podcast. Good night.